In the South China Sea, with shrinkage of fishery resources and increased pressure on environmental protection, the problem of illegal fishing at sea has become more prominent. In recent years, Vietnam's illegal fishing activities in the region have become more frequent, not only triggering multiple maritime conflicts but also further complicating the already tense maritime situation, gradually becoming a significant threat to regional security. Since 2020, Vietnam's illegal fishing and fishing encroachment activities in the South China Sea have continued at a high level without substantial relief, seriously disturbing neighboring countries and threatening regional maritime security. Data from the Automatic Identification System show that between 2020 and 2024, the number of Vietnamese fishing vessels in the South China Sea has been steadily increasing and expanding in scope, with an average of more than 10,000 active vessels per month, and in 2024 it will reach an average of more than 14,700 vessels per month, with a record high of 18,193 vessels in July, in which thousands of Vietnamese fishing vessels enter the undisputed waters of other countries. According to incomplete statistics based on public data, at least 43 fishery conflicts occurred between Vietnam and Malaysia, Indonesia, and Thailand between 2023 and 2024 alone, in which 71 Vietnamese fishing boats and 532 Vietnamese fishermen were detained. As for Indonesia, although Vietnam and Indonesia announced the completion of the so-called Exclusive Economic Zone demarcation negotiations in December 2022, it did not substantially ease the fishery tensions between the two countries. In 2023, Vietnam's illegal fishing was still rampant, with at least 6 arrests between the two sides. A total of 8 fishing boats and 112 Vietnamese fishermen were arrested. In 2024, there were fewer incidents than in previous years, but there were still at least 3 conflicts, with a total of 5 Vietnamese fishing boats and 47 fishermen arrested. In the past 2 years, although the conflict between Vietnam and Indonesia in the field of fisheries has eased on the surface, the number of Vietnamese fishing boats illegally entering the waters claimed by Indonesia has not decreased. The reasons behind this include, first, Indonesia's law enforcement intensity has declined due to factors such as insufficient patrol ships and budget. Second, Indonesia has abandoned the sink the vessels policy for environmental protection, cost, and diplomatic considerations, easing tensions. Third, the two sides have strengthened cooperation and reached an agreement in early 2024 to strengthen the management of their respective fishermen. Indonesia has changed to expelling Vietnamese fishermen instead of arresting them. As for Malaysia, the fishing conflicts between the two sides have been the most intense among the coastal countries in recent years. In 2023, there were 11 fishing conflicts between Malaysia and Vietnam, with a total of 22 Vietnamese fishing boats and 247 Vietnamese fishermen detained by Malaysia, and another 4 were sunk. In 2024, at least 14 incidents occurred, with 20 Vietnamese fishing boats and 156 fishermen detained. Since May 2019, Malaysia has launched the multi-departmental joint Operation Naga, focusing on combating illegal fishing boats at sea. According to Malaysia, from the start of the operation to September 2024, a total of 598 foreign fishing boats were detained, of which 451 were Vietnamese fishing boats, involving 4,391 Vietnamese fishermen, and the value of seized property exceeded 190 million ringgit. In addition, Vietnam also frequently has similar maritime fishery disputes and conflicts with neighboring countries such as Thailand, Cambodia, the Philippines, and China. Especially with China, Vietnamese fishing boats have always maintained a large presence in the waters near Hainan, Guangxi, and Guangdong in China, as well as in the waters near the Shisha Islands. In addition to illegal fishing, most of them are also tasked with spying on military secrets. For this reason, China's maritime law enforcement forces have repeatedly seized and driven away Vietnamese illegal fishing boats in accordance with the law. But Vietnam has not only failed to reflect on and stop its illegal fishing activities, but has also turned the tables and taken the opportunity to hype it up in order to gain sympathy. For example, on August 28, 2023, a Chinese Coast Guard ship fired water cannons at a Vietnamese illegal fishing boat near the Shisha Islands to drive it away, while Vietnam and the US and Western media have widely smeared the Chinese Coast Guard for violent law enforcement and bullying. In October 2017, the European Union issued a yellow card warning to Vietnam for its persistent illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing, proposing 9 corrective measures and threatening trade sanctions if not addressed. IUU fishing remains a significant issue across Southeast Asian waters, with the Philippines and Thailand previously receiving EU yellow card warnings and Cambodia even receiving a red card in 2014. While Thailand and the Philippines have since resolved their warnings, Vietnam has yet to meet the EU's requirements. The EU's yellow card policy has had a significant negative impact on Vietnam's fisheries and economic development. According to the General Department of Fisheries of Vietnam, since the European Commission issued a yellow card warning to Vietnam's seafood industry in 2017, Vietnam's seafood exports to the EU market have fallen by an average of 6 to 10% per year. Now the EU has fallen from Vietnam's second-largest seafood importer to the fifth. Vietnamese Deputy Prime Minister Tran Lu Quang has also warned that if the problem is not completely resolved, Vietnamese aquatic products may be given a red card warning. By then, the EU will no longer import Vietnamese seafood, and other markets such as the United States, Japan, and South Korea may also implement similar regulations on it, and Vietnam's seafood exports may suffer huge losses. Despite introducing several corrective measures under EU pressure, Vietnam's efforts have fallen far short of expectations, with illegal fishing activities remaining rampant and even intensifying. Addressing illegal fishing in other countries' waters remains a core challenge for Vietnam and a primary reason the EU has not lifted the yellow card. In the face of depleting fishery resources in the South China Sea, it is difficult for regional countries to continue to tolerate the status quo. In order to achieve sustainable development of fishery resources, Vietnam urgently needs to review and reform the current fishery subsidy policy and eliminate those subsidies that may encourage illegal fishing. At the same time, it should abandon the fishing for the sea mentality and the permissive approach based on sovereignty claims, strengthen regulation and law enforcement, raise fishermen's awareness of law-abidingness, and better fulfill its international responsibility to protect the marine ecosystem so as to avoid further aggravation of fishery disputes.